Now, oftentimes on the show, we talk about just how confused and screwed up U.S. foreign policy is. And today, we have a perfect example of that, and it involves what's going on in Yemen at the moment. So, yesterday, the Sunni-led government in the region, which was an ally of the U.S., outright collapsed. It collapsed. And the leader, President Hadi, fled the country, and Shiite Houthi rebels took over. So we saw this coming for a while, and we reported on what was essentially a minor collapse of the government recently, but now the process is complete. It's 100%. It's over. The Sunni-led government is done, and the Shia Houthis are in control. So the AP is now reporting on this, quote, Egypt and Saudi Arabia are planning a ground operation in Yemen. Saudi Arabia began bombing the rebels. Turkey has said that it may be one of the nations providing logistical support now. The White House said late Wednesday that President Barack Obama authorized logistical and intelligence support to the Saudi-led operations. So, to sum that up, shit just got real. So Yemen before was relatively stable, but not really, because there's a deep Sunni-Shia divide, and they kind of always hated each other, but now it's bubbled over. Whereas before, it wasn't an international issue, now it appears to be an international issue. And the whipped cream and the cherry on top is the fact that Saudi Arabia and Egypt, also another article I read said Libya, they all want to get involved. And of course, the understanding is that Iran is currently backing the Shia Houthi rebels. So what are we looking at in Yemen right now? We're looking at what is in essence a proxy war in the Sunni-Shia conflict in the Middle East. We're looking at a situation where it's basically Iran versus Saudi Arabia, or Iran and all the Shias versus all the Sunnis in the region. And what is America doing? We're picking sides. Why would we do that, is my question. Because understand just how deep-rooted this conflict is, and just how much there's no solution to this conflict. So we're apparently taking the side of the Sunnis in this, right? Because the former Sunni leader in Yemen was our ally. And you could say, oh, we're also backing up Turkey, who's our ally, and Saudi Arabia, who of course is our ally, even though they're a Sharia state and we pretend to hate Sharia. But who's going to end up also coming in on the side of the Sunnis? Who's also going to come in on the side of Saudi Arabia and Turkey and Egypt in the region? Jihadists. Possibly ISIS. So we're going to provide logistical support to the Sunnis in the Sunni-Shia conflict when it's a virtual guarantee that jihadists are going to enter on that side to help battle the Shias. Because remember, it's the Shias who are currently fighting ISIS in Iraq. It's Iran that's currently fighting ISIS in Iraq. And it's other Shia militias involved in the region fighting ISIS. And ISIS is fundamentalist Sunni. So let me get this straight. In one area, we are backing the Shias. We actually like the fact that Iran is fighting ISIS, right? But then in another area, further south of there in Yemen, we flipped. And we're going to support the Sunnis in that region because, oh, we love Saudi Arabia and we love Turkey and we love Egypt and they're going to get involved to try to beat back the Houthis, so we're on their side now. We're on the Sunni side against the Shias. So you separate an area by a couple hundred miles and all of a sudden, boom, American foreign policy flips and we're on the other side of the battle. Okay, the level to which this is absurd, I can't even put it into words. And you know what this reminds me of? The exact same thing that happened in Syria. Nobody talked about this, and my fucking head was spinning, and I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone, the fact that nobody was discussing this. We originally were talking about getting involved in Syria to attack Assad, because Assad was, killing civilians, and there was a civil war going on, and we don't like Assad. So Obama gave this speech at night. It was on network TV. He's making this big deal. We can't allow a dictator to do what he's doing and this and that. Lo and behold, a year or about a year and a half later, all of a sudden, we had gone from saying, let's intervene in Syria to attack Assad to let's intervene in Syria to help Assad. Because ISIS and other Sunni extremists are fighting Assad, the Shia. So now let's get involved and let's fight ISIS and be de facto allies with Assad. So within the time frame of a year or year and a half, we flipped. We flipped in the conflict. We went from, let's get this Assad guy to, let's help this Assad guy. Okay, another example, the Kurds. So we view the PKK, the Kurdish Workers' Party, as a terrorist organization. Why? Because they've had beef with the Turkish government for the longest time. So we label them a terrorist organization, they're on our terrorist watch list, all that stuff, you name it, the whole thing. Well, when ISIS rose to prominence and came to power and started marauding their way through the desert, who were the first people to step up to fight them? The PKK, the Kurdish Workers' Party. And we were considering arming them. We armed other Kurds, the Kurdish Peshmerga. I don't think we armed the PKK officially, but we're still aligned with them, and we're happy that they're fighting ISIS. And then watch. You want to place a bet? I'll place a bet right now that within the time frame of 2 years or 3 years, we're going to flip sides again somehow. So look at how confused our foreign policy is. And I'll tell you why it is confused. It's confused because we're not actually taking a principled stand or a humanitarian stand. We don't give a shit about altruism or the best possible outcome. All we care about is our power in the region. All we care about is geopolitical strength and getting oil and getting natural resources. So if that means that in some areas we support a Sunni strongman like al-Sisi in Egypt, well, then we'll support the Sunni strongman. But if in other cases there's a Shia who's more willing to bend to our imperialist ambitions, then we'll support the Shias in that area. So there's no actual, like, hey, we're the good guys and we're going to swoop in there and be Superman and defeat all the genocidal maniacs. No. It all comes down to what our own ambitions are and what can help us, regardless of, whatever terrorist activities might be done by people on our side. So here's my answer to the whole thing. Stop fucking around and just get out of the region.